Hollywood may seem glamorous, but behind the scenes, it's often full of tension and unexpected drama. Beneath the bright lights and cheerful laughs of iconic shows, personal conflicts can simmer, sometimes exploding into legendary feuds. Few stories highlight this better than the bitter animosity between Nancy Culp and Buddy Ebsen on the Beverly Hillbillies. To millions of fans, Nancy's portrayal of Miss Jane Hathaway and Buddy's performance as Jed Clampett brought humor and warmth to their screens. But what viewers didn't see was the growing tension behind the cameras. While their characters worked together seamlessly, Nancy and Buddy couldn't have been more different in real life. Their feud wasn't just about clashing personalities. It was fueled by political differences, personal slights, and professional struggles that only worsened over the years. What could drive such hatred between two stars of one of television's most beloved sitcoms? And why did Nancy Culp go so far as to call out her co-star publicly, even decades after their time on the show? Let's peel back the curtain on one of Hollywood's most explosive behind-the-scenes rivalries and reveal the shocking truth about their complicated relationship. Nancy Culp didn't set out to become a Hollywood star. In fact, her early ambitions were far removed from the glitz and glamour of Tinseltown. Born in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, in 1921, Nancy grew up in a family that valued education and hard work. She pursued her academic passions, earning a degree in English and French from Florida State University, followed by a master's degree from the University of Miami. Her initial career path seemed destined for academia and journalism. She began working as a writer for a local newspaper in Miami, where her love for storytelling flourished. But it wasn't just her intellect that set her apart. Nancy had a natural charisma and a sharp sense of humor that couldn't be ignored. Her life took an unexpected turn when she joined the Women's Army Corps during World War II. Serving as a lieutenant, Nancy earned several decorations for her service, including the Army Commendation Medal. Her time in the military broadened her perspective and sharpened her communication skills, traits that would later prove invaluable in her acting career. After the war, Nancy moved to Hollywood with her husband, Charles Dacus, who was pursuing a career in the entertainment industry. Initially, Nancy worked as a publicity writer for Look magazine, promoting others in the spotlight. However, fate intervened when director George Cukor recognized her unique wit and encouraged her to try acting. Nancy's big break came in 1951 when she landed her first film role in The Model and The Marriage Broker. Though her part was minor, it marked the beginning of a steady stream of supporting roles in both film and television throughout the 1950s and 60s. She quickly gained a reputation for playing quirky, character-driven roles that showcased her sharp comedic timing and distinctive presence. But it was her role as Miss Jane Hathaway on the Beverly Hillbillies that catapulted her into stardom. Cast in 1962, Nancy became a household name as the prim, proper, and often flustered secretary to the greedy banker Milburn Drysdale. Her character's unrequited crush on Jethro Bodine added a humorous subplot that endeared her to audiences. With her dry humor, impeccable delivery, and ability to steal every scene she was in, Nancy became one of the most beloved figures on the show. Fans adored her portrayal of Miss Hathaway, seeing her as both relatable and hilariously out of place amidst the Clampett family's hillbilly antics. However, while viewers saw her as a vital part of the show's charm, Nancy's experience behind the scenes was far less joyful. Her path to fame was anything but typical, marked by twists and turns that showcased her resilience, intelligence, and ability to adapt. But as her career flourished, so too did the tension between her and her co-star Buddy Ebsen, setting the stage for one of Hollywood's most infamous rivalries. Buddy Ebsen entered the Beverly Hillbillies as a veteran actor with a long and storied career in Hollywood. Born in Belleville, Illinois, in 1908, Ebsen originally trained as a dancer, which became a defining feature of his early career. Known for his light-footed movements and natural charisma, he made a name for himself in the 1930s, appearing in musicals alongside stars like Shirley Temple. He even famously rehearsed the role of the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz before being forced to drop out due to an allergic reaction to the makeup. By the time he landed the role of Jed Clampett, Ebsen had already spent decades in show business, transitioning from song and dance routines to television acting with ease. His portrayal of Jed, the lovable and simple-minded patriarch of the Clampett family, became the cornerstone of the Beverly Hillbillies. Jed's character embodied the fish-out-of-water trope, a hillbilly thrust into the world of high society after discovering oil on his land and becoming a millionaire overnight. Ebsen's relaxed and homespun demeanor made Jed instantly likable. He brought a certain warmth and authenticity to the role, anchoring the show's humor with his down-to-earth portrayal. His comedic timing and natural chemistry with the rest of the cast made him the heart of the series. A major part of the show's appeal was the contrast between Ebsen's easygoing Jed and Nancy Culp's tightly wound Miss Jane Hathaway. While Jed was carefree and practical, Jane was proper, intellectual, and often flustered by the Clampett family's antics. The dynamic between the two characters offered endless opportunities for comedy, and their on-screen chemistry helped solidify the show as a hit. However, beneath the humor and charm that viewers loved, the reality on set was far from harmonious. Ebsen's relaxed, old-school approach to acting often clashed with Nancy's more meticulous and cerebral style. Nancy approached her role with precision, often wanting to add depth and nuance to her character, while Ebsen preferred a simpler, more traditional style of acting. As the show gained popularity and became one of the highest-rated sitcoms of the 1960s, these differences began to create tension. Reports suggest that Buddy, as the star of the show, held considerable influence behind the scenes, which may have contributed to the strain in his relationship with Nancy. While audiences were oblivious to the discord, the growing animosity between the two stars was impossible to ignore for those working on the show. In many ways, Buddy Ebsen's role as Jed Clampett cemented his legacy in television history. However, his reputation for being opinionated and unwilling to compromise would play a significant role in the feud with Nancy Culp that unfolded behind the scenes. The man who brought so much laughter to millions also became a source of frustration for his co-star, setting the stage for one of Hollywood's most memorable off-screen rivalries. The tension between Nancy Culp and Buddy Ebsen didn't develop overnight, but once it began, it only grew deeper with time. At its core, their feud was fueled by a clash of personalities that were polar opposites in almost every way. Nancy was highly educated, disciplined, and known for her meticulous approach to her craft. She believed in delving deeply into her character, often suggesting ways to add depth or complexity to her role as Miss Jane Hathaway. Buddy Ebsen, on the other hand, embodied a more relaxed, old-school style of acting. Having spent decades in Hollywood, he approached his work with a show-up-and-do-your-job mentality, often dismissing Nancy's more cerebral approach as overthinking. While this laid-back attitude may have worked well for Buddy, Nancy reportedly found it frustrating, feeling that it undermined the potential for creative collaboration. Adding fuel to the fire were their starkly opposing political beliefs. Nancy was a staunch progressive, known for her vocal support of democratic policies and her advocacy for social change. Off-screen, she was deeply engaged in political discussions and even pursued public office later in her life. Buddy, in contrast, was a proud conservative, holding firmly to traditional values and often expressing his views freely on set. The 1960s was a politically charged era, with debates over civil rights, the Vietnam War, and shifting societal norms dominating public discourse. On the set of the Beverly Hillbillies, these cultural tensions played out in real time. Nancy and Buddy's ideological differences often spilled over into heated debates that went far beyond their work as actors. According to some reports, Buddy would mock Nancy's political beliefs, sometimes in front of other cast and crew members, which only deepened the rift between them. Nancy, who prided herself on her professionalism, reportedly felt belittled and dismissed by Buddy's attitude. She believed in treating every cast and crew member with respect, while Buddy's actions sometimes seemed to her like a display of his dominance as the show's lead star. Their personal and professional clashes created an increasingly toxic atmosphere on set, with both actors growing more entrenched in their animosity toward one another. Interestingly, their characters on screen provided a sharp contrast to their real-life relationship. Miss Hathaway's admiration for Jed Clampett was often a source of humor on the show, as her prim and proper demeanor clashed with his laid-back, homespun charm. To viewers, their dynamic seemed lighthearted and playful. Yet behind the scenes, every scene they shared carried the weight of their growing resentment. As the show's popularity soared, so did the tension. What began as small disagreements over acting styles and personal beliefs eventually grew into a full-blown feud. The once professional relationship between Nancy and Buddy deteriorated to the point where their off-screen hostility was no longer a secret among those who worked on the show. While audiences were blissfully unaware, the cast and crew were caught in the crossfire of one of Hollywood's most notorious behind-the-scenes conflicts. In 1984, long after the Beverly Hillbillies had ended its run, Nancy Culp made a bold and unexpected career shift. She decided to run for Congress as a Democratic candidate in Pennsylvania. Known for her progressive values and advocacy for education, environmental issues, and healthcare reform, Nancy aimed to bring her passion for public service to the political arena. Her candidacy was a reflection of her lifelong commitment to intellectual pursuits and societal change. However, what could have been a proud and transformative chapter in her life quickly became overshadowed by a shocking betrayal from her former co-star, Buddy Ebsen. Rather than remaining neutral, Buddy chose to take an active role in opposing Nancy's campaign. In what many saw as an unnecessarily personal attack, Buddy recorded a radio advertisement for Nancy's Republican opponent, Bud Shuster, criticizing her political platform and openly questioning her qualifications. In the ad, Buddy implied that Nancy's views were out of touch with the needs of her district and that her background in acting didn't equip her for the complexities of political office. For Nancy, this move wasn't just a professional disagreement. It cut deeply on a personal level. She later described Buddy's actions as one of the most painful betrayals of her life, particularly because the two had worked together for nearly a decade. The public nature of Buddy's opposition was humiliating for Nancy. While it's not uncommon for colleagues to differ politically, Buddy's high-profile involvement in her opponent's campaign felt like an intentional effort to undermine her credibility. His words carried weight, not just as a fellow actor, but as a cultural icon from their shared success on the Beverly Hillbillies. For many voters, Buddy's endorsement of Shuster likely held more sway than Nancy's political ideals. Though Nancy remained composed and professional in her response, it was clear that the feud between the two had reached its breaking point. For years, she had endured subtle jabs and clashes behind the scenes of their show, but this public attack elevated their animosity to new heights. To Nancy, Buddy's actions symbolized the culmination of years of dismissiveness and condescension, not only toward her political beliefs, but toward her as a person. Nancy ultimately lost the election in what was considered a heavily conservative district, but many speculated that Buddy's public opposition played a role in her defeat. While she continued to lead a meaningful life in education and charity work, the sting of Buddy's betrayal lingered. For Buddy Ebsen, his involvement in the campaign highlighted his willingness to use his influence for causes he believed in, no matter how divisive. However, for fans who cherished their on-screen chemistry, his actions served as a reminder of the stark contrast between their beloved characters and their real-life relationship. The political fallout between Nancy and Buddy wasn't just a clash of ideologies. It became a defining moment in their feud, solidifying their off-screen animosity in a way that neither would ever fully recover from. While Nancy focused on moving forward with dignity, the pain of Buddy's opposition left an indelible mark on her legacy and their shared history. The feud between Nancy Culp and Buddy Ebsen didn't just strain their relationship. It had lasting effects on their careers and personal trajectories. For Nancy, the tension on set was palpable. As the star of the Beverly Hillbillies, Buddy wielded considerable influence behind the scenes, and his dominant position often left Nancy feeling isolated and undervalued. Reports suggest that some crew members, whether out of loyalty to Buddy or fear of crossing him, tended to side with him in disputes, further compounding Nancy's sense of exclusion. Nancy was known for her professionalism and dedication to her craft, but the hostile environment made it difficult for her to thrive creatively. She often found herself frustrated by what she perceived as a lack of respect for her contributions, both as an actress and as an intellectual force on the show. While fans adored her portrayal of Miss Jane Hathaway, behind the scenes, Nancy struggled to feel fully supported in her role. For Buddy, the feud didn't seem to hinder his career in the same way. As a seasoned Hollywood actor, he transitioned smoothly into other projects after the Beverly Hillbillies ended. His easygoing demeanor and established reputation allowed him to continue working in television and film without significant difficulty. To the public, Buddy remained a beloved figure, and his career continued largely unaffected by the animosity between him and Nancy. Nancy, on the other hand, faced a more challenging path. While she continued to appear in guest roles on television shows like Sanford & Son and The Brian Keith Show, her opportunities in Hollywood began to dwindle by the late 1970s. Whether this decline was due to her growing dissatisfaction with the industry or lingering fallout from her conflict with Buddy is unclear, but it's evident that Nancy eventually decided to step away from acting altogether. Rather than viewing this as a setback, Nancy embraced a new chapter in her life. She turned her focus to education and charity work, finding fulfillment outside of Hollywood. She became an artist-in-residence at Juniata College in Pennsylvania, where she taught acting and theater to aspiring performers. Her love for learning and mentoring reflected her deeply intellectual nature and her desire to give back to the community. While Buddy continued to be remembered for his role as Jed Clampett, Nancy carved out a quieter but equally meaningful legacy. Her decision to step away from the spotlight and dedicate herself to causes she cared about spoke to her resilience and integrity. However, it's undeniable that the feud with Buddy left a lasting scar on her Hollywood career, one that she carried with her long after the cameras stopped rolling. In hindsight, the contrast in how the feud affected their careers highlights the power dynamics at play during their time on the Beverly Hillbillies. Buddy's position as the lead actor and his influence in the industry gave him an advantage that Nancy, despite her talent and professionalism, couldn't overcome. While their on-screen chemistry remains a cherished memory for fans, the bitterness behind the scenes serves as a poignant reminder of how personal conflicts can overshadow even the brightest careers. Despite their animosity, both Nancy Culp and Buddy Ebsen managed to leave indelible marks on Hollywood, each in their own unique way. For Nancy, her legacy goes far beyond her iconic role as Miss Jane Hathaway. She is remembered as a trailblazer, an actress who brought intellect, wit, and authenticity to her characters in a male-dominated industry. Her courage in living authentically, particularly as a woman who openly acknowledged her sexuality later in life, was ahead of her time, at a moment when societal pressures often silenced voices like hers. Nancy chose to live with honesty and integrity, inspiring others to do the same. Nancy's commitment to education and public service also set her apart. Her decision to transition from Hollywood to academia reflected her multifaceted nature and desire to leave a lasting impact on future generations. As a mentor to young performers, she helped cultivate talent and shared her deep appreciation for the arts. While her Hollywood career may have been overshadowed by her feud with Buddy Ebsen, her work beyond the screen ensures that her contributions remain significant and celebrated. Buddy Ebsen, meanwhile, remains a beloved figure in television history, celebrated for his iconic roles on the Beverly Hillbillies and later on Barnaby Jones. As Jed Clampett, he embodied the everyman charm that resonated with millions of viewers, turning the character into a cultural touchstone of 1960s television. His career, which spanned more than 7 decades, showcased his versatility as an actor, dancer, and performer. However, Buddy's feud with Nancy Culp adds a layer of complexity to his otherwise affable public image. While his contributions to television are undeniable, his actions during their time on the Beverly Hillbillies and his public opposition to Nancy's political aspirations painted a different picture of the man behind the character. For fans, this duality serves as a reminder that even beloved public figures have their flaws. Together, their story reflects the often hidden struggles behind the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. On screen, Nancy and Buddy created one of television's most memorable comedic duos, bringing laughter and joy to millions of viewers. Off-screen, their relationship serves as a cautionary tale of how personal and professional differences can overshadow even the most successful partnerships. Their feud also highlights larger cultural and and societal issues of their time. Nancy and Buddy represented two sides of a deeply divided America: the intellectual, progressive trailblazer and the traditional conservative star. Their conflict mirrored the broader tensions of the 1960s and 70s, making their story not just about two actors, but about the cultural shifts that shaped a nation. Today, both Nancy Culp and Buddy Ebsen are remembered for their contributions to entertainment and the legacies they left behind. Nancy's courage, intellect, and trailblazing spirit continue to inspire those who value authenticity and resilience, while Buddy's body of work stands as a testament to his talent and enduring appeal. Their story reminds us that legacies are rarely black and white. The complexities, conflicts, and triumphs of their lives offer a deeper understanding of the humanity behind the personas we see on screen. Despite their animosity, their contributions to Hollywood remain timeless, and their impact on television history continues to resonate with fans around the world. The feud between Nancy Culp and Buddy Ebsen was more than just a clash of personalities. It was a collision of values, styles, and ideologies, all set against the backdrop of one of television's most iconic sitcoms. Their story reflects the broader cultural and political tensions of their time, where opposing worldviews often created deep divisions, even between colleagues who shared the same spotlight. Nancy and Buddy's on-screen chemistry brought joy and laughter to millions, but their off-screen conflict serves as a stark reminder that the relationships behind the scenes aren't always as harmonious as they appear. Despite their differences, both left behind legacies that have stood the test of time, shaping the entertainment industry and captivating audiences for generations. But what do you think? Could their feud have been avoided if circumstances were different? Or was their rivalry inevitable? Did their differences make their dynamics stronger on screen? Or do you think it held them back from achieving even greater success? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating behind-the-scenes stories from Hollywood's golden age. And remember, every legend has a story, and some of the most interesting ones happen when the cameras stop rolling.